podcast is brought to you by OnlyFans Baristas on Instagram. At OnlyFans Baristas, we promote the hottest bikini baristas around the country and linking you with their OnlyFans.com account. Go follow at OnlyFans Baristas and start connecting with those sexy baristas today.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for checking out the first episode of Sex Work 101. I am your host, Dirty Dan. So a little backstory on this podcast. We had on a couple bikini baristas on my other podcast, Real Ass People's Entertainment, and people loved it. So we partnered with, or at least I partnered with OnlyFans Barista's Instagram page. Go follow them, OnlyFans Baristas. And we came out with this podcast. We wanted to take a little peek behind the curtain of the sex worker industry. So we're going to talk to strippers, escorts, bikini baristas, OnlyFans content creators. I'd love to get like sex counselors on here, try to get some porn stars on here. And we'll see what happens. I hope you guys enjoy this first episode. I really enjoyed making it. The 2 episodes I did on my other podcast, I really enjoyed making. It really opened my eyes to a lot of things that are going on behind the curtain. But we had on Viviana Mommy today. Go check her out on Instagram, Viviana Mommy, spelled M-A-M-I. She has a lot of cool insights. This time we didn't go too deep into it. Like I said on my other podcast, we did like over 2-hour episode, so go listen to that if you like what you hear on this episode. Also, again, go check out our sponsor, OnlyFans Barista's Instagram page. And if you want to know who I am, you can also find me on Instagram at Big Danny G. I do work with a lot of the OnlyFans content creators with their photos, so you can go check out my photography work at D Block Shots. The real good stuff is obviously on their OnlyFans page, so don't forget to go follow anyone who's on here. If they got an OnlyFans, go follow them, go support them. I know they love it. So let's get into it. I hope you guys enjoy this. Woo! Okay, welcome to Sex Work 101, the first episode with Viviana. You want to say hi to everybody, Viviana?
Hey!
So you've been on my other podcast, Real Ass People's Entertainment, and that was actually one of the reasons why this podcast got started, is because we got super deep into it. It's still the #1 episode listened to on that podcast. And instead of kind of turning that podcast into this subject, we decided to start another podcast, and we teamed up with the Instagram page, OnlyFans Baristas. And you are a barista that has an OnlyFans, and you're also involved. So obviously you're involved in the sex worker industry. So we thought it'd be pretty cool to have you as the first guest on this podcast. So that's pretty cool.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
And it's a little bit different. You're not in studio this time. So this time we're doing it over Zoom, which is kind of fun because now we get to put it on YouTube.
Yay, fun.
So why don't you give people a little backstory, maybe your Instagram, and then kind of lead into what kind of sex work that you do or you have done.
Okay. Well, my Instagram is Viviana Mommy, and I started it originally as basically a front, like make it look like a normal Instagram page, and like I was really living my life as Viviana, and it was made for my customers at the strip club, so they'd be able to follow me and they wouldn't try to pry and look at my real name, because they would, be able to like see my whole life there. And then I didn't strip very much, but I started doing Bikini Barista. And then one of the requirements is to have an Instagram, so you can have your regulars follow you and they can always know when you're working. And so then I started it being predominantly just a Bikini Barista Instagram. I have some stripper content on there, but yeah, it's for like my customers.
So you essentially start off as, now when you start off as a stripper, did you start off as a waitress first? Because I know a lot of them they hire you as a waitress and they try and flip you to be a stripper.
I started as a waitress at Kittens, and they were very adamant about trying to make me a dancer, and I wasn't about it then. And then I switched to Dream Girls at Soda when I was there for a year, but I stayed a waitress and a bartender. I didn't decide to start dancing until at least 6 months after being a waitress, and I never danced in Seattle. That was one of like my rules for myself, and in my relationship, one of our boundaries, I just decided to strip in Portland because it's also more options to choose from and just generally more money in those clubs. So that's where I dance mostly. They're in Detroit.
Yeah, it's Detroit. Yeah, the strip club scene's way better
Yes.
in Portland, especially when you can go down and have a beer and some steak and eggs and some titties at like 8 a.m.
Yes, and you don't have to pay $200 to dance a night. That's always nice. You don't need a license.
Oh, that's right. They don't have you don't have to pay house because they have liquor, so they make a lot more money.
Yeah, you pay like a way lower house fee, and you don't need a license. So
very nice. You did mention something. You said that doing Bikini Barista, you had to have an Instagram.
Yes.
That's crazy because I know, I don't know what stand you work for right now, but you used to work for Ladybug, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so they post their baristas on their page. So why would you have to have your Instagram or a separate Instagram if they're posting too? That doesn't make sense to me.
For Ladybug specifically, because a lot of different stands post their girls, it's kind of like, yeah, legally they can't be like, you have to have an Instagram where you post all your like bikini pictures. But if you don't have one, you're not going to have as many regulars, and they might be able to see you on the stands page once in a while. But Ladybug is so big that even if you send in a picture that day, it may not get posted.
Okay.
And this way, like, customers can actually interact with you and look at your schedule specifically, because the stands won't post your schedule. And then this way, yeah, the customers can just see you consistently. And if you don't have one, you're going to have less regulars, which means less sales, and you'll probably get fired.
So I feel, well, that's shitty, but I feel if that's their platform or that's their model of advertising, I feel like they should be better at posting to social media. If they really want you to get more sales, I don't feel like it would be a bad thing for them to have one or two people sitting there posting your photos with your schedule. And then also, if you do have an Instagram, tagging it, because I know when I was looking for some baristas to come on the podcast, even the other podcast, obviously Ladybug is the biggest chain barista stand around, and they don't tag anybody. So
Yeah.
I had to go to their tagged photos of girls tagging Ladybug in their photos, and not all girls do that. So I mean,
yeah, and sometimes they'll delete yours.
So as a regular customer, I feel like if you were trying to have like the fans or the customers, the regulars, it's harder for them to follow you that way, or to even get new ones through Instagram, because they're not essentially kind of throwing you that bone and helping you out a little bit.
That is true. Although they kind of tell us one of the things you get trained on when you first get hired, and it's for almost every stand, they'll have like the list of rules by the window. But one of them is like, you give every customer your Instagram, or like almost every customer, you always ask them if they want to follow you on Instagram.
Really?
Yeah, so you're kind of, I mean, you're not technically by law required to promote yourself, but you really need to if you want to be successful, if you want to, stay at the stand, because they have pretty ridiculous sales quotas sometimes. And with everything going on, and, some people just don't do shows to begin with, and it's illegal, so you're not really supposed to. The only other way to get your sales up like that is to have enough regulars that are seeing your Instagram and coming to see you whenever you work.
See, that's interesting that you tell me that they're, I guess, encouraged or told or given a tip to share their Instagram, because I've been to Ladybug plenty of times over the years. Never once has anyone ever given me their Instagram.
It might honestly be because of everything going on right now. I left Ladybug in February, and I loved my stand. I loved my managers. They were, however, different managers than the main ones. So our rules were a lot different, and they were always so strict on shows. Like, I could never do them, never wanted to anyways, but that was like one of their rules. And then other girls are saying, coming out of Ladybug and other locations, that if you weren't doing shows, you were getting reprimanded and you were getting fired because your sales weren't up there. So then they had to start promoting their Instagrams like crazy, starting OnlyFans, doing all this other stuff to engage their followers and their regulars, so they keep coming back even though they're not doing anything.
Would it be so to promote like that? So what if baristas maybe went and got like cards made up. You can get them made at like Staples for like $9.99 or $20 or something like that for 250 cards. So, I mean,
Yeah.
one time thing, go get some cards made up. Maybe put a little symbol, a little, you know, silhouette of a barista chick or whatever on the card, and then have like your Instagram and then maybe your OnlyFans link on there, and just
See, that's a good idea.
free cup of coffee. And that would literally, that's $10 for every 250 cards. I would be doing that.
That is a smart ass idea. When I get back in a stand, I will do that. So look out for my business cards. They're coming.
Do it. Staples, like $10, $20.
Yeah. Seriously.
So we kind of went over how you got started. To go back to basics, like what made you want to get started as a waitress in the club? Was it just a job, just needed a job at the time, or?
I was actually a normal barista. I was just at a family-friendly stand. They put me in their other location, which was inside of a YMCA. It drove me crazy. I started cussing at children. It was not a good situation. So I was like, I need a new job. And my girlfriend lives here in Seattle, and I really wanted to be with her more. And working in Seattle is a better situation than working in some other places where it's not as many opportunities. And I had heard about this job, like being a waitress in a strip club, and I wanted to try it out. And once I figured out like the tip amount, like what you're doing every night, it was really a good situation for me at the time. So I stuck with it, and I ended up having that as my only job for a year, besides the occasional stripping once in a while. But it got to be too much, and that lifestyle wasn't something I wanted to stay into forever. And it's a lot. Rough. Yeah, it is. It can be. And honestly, I mean, this is just for me personally, but probably because I started as a waitress. You know, a lot of people take that as a party every night, and they choose to get fucked up every night at work. And when you get too fucked up, you get irresponsible with your money. So I choose to not partake or anything when I'm actually working and stripping, because if I'm stripping, I want to be on my game. But as a waitress, you're not having to approach customers like that. You're not selling yourself as a brand. You're just selling drinks. And it's a lot easier. Although you have all these other work things to do, it's so much easier to just fall into the habit of it and then start getting fucked up at work and start doing other things that compromise the rest of your life, especially when you're working 8 p.m. to 3, 4 in the morning every night. You don't wake up till like 11. It becomes sort of like a very repetitive lifestyle that can be really hard to pull yourself out of. So it was time for me to just move on to something more challenging as well.
Yeah, I know a lot of girls, because I used to work as a bouncer at Fox's, and I did that on and off for a couple of years, and then I worked at Dream Girls in Tukwila. And a lot of girls, they had a problem of partying all night, or they would, at work, they weren't supposed to drink, but they would. Obviously, no one's going to tell them that they can't smoke weed, so they do weed. And then who knows what other drugs. I know there was a lot of, what's that one, that antidepressant drug? I can't remember.
Cocaine.
There was a lot of cocaine. There was that.
Of course.
I had a girl come out of a bathroom one time. I was on break. I was standing in the DJ booth. She walks out of the bathroom, has this completely confused look on her face, like she's lost her keys and has no idea where she's looking. And she just looks dead at me. She goes, "Fuck, I need to stop doing so much cocaine at work." And then turns around and walks away. And I was like, you do realize who you said that to? Like, part of my job as the security and the bouncer was to report any drug usage. Like that.
That's very funny you say that.
They tell us that. I mean, don't get me wrong. We generally didn't. This is the way it worked. For the guys who work the door, and I'll tell this to any of the girls, because some girls treat the door guys super shitty. If you treat the door guys shitty, they will report you for anything. They don't give a fuck. They want to see you gone because you're making their life hell.
Yep.
Like, you guys get the girls get to kind of hustle for their money. We're on an hourly wage, so like we get paid the same like bullshit wage every night. So like if it's a constant headache, like we don't care if you really get in trouble. But if you're like you don't have to go out of your way. Just be nice. Just say hi when you come through the door, and then don't give grief. And when you say things like that, we're not going to tell anybody that you did cocaine in the bathroom. We don't care, because you're nice. And it's kind of it's a give and take. It's just a workplace thing. Be nice to people, and they'll turn a blind eye when you're doing the fun stuff. But So you've been a stripper. I got a question though. Do the word stripper, I always felt like it had a negative connotation. Is that just because I'm on the guy side? I've heard a lot of people say dancers are strippers. I just don't know if it's like the worldly perspective that stripper has a negative connotation to it.
Honestly, so the first time I went into a strip club was the day that I got hired as a waitress. And at that club, everyone referred to the strippers as dancers. So I started thinking the same thing. I was like, oh God, strippers like a derogatory term. Like,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to. But then I switched clubs to a much nicer club where extras and just honestly general prostitution was not as relevant in that club. And everyone just called each other strippers because that's what we are. I guess it kind of depends. I mean, if you say it in a derogatory way, it's derogatory. But I mean, the word stripper isn't offensive to me, at least. It's that's what I do.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you're like trying to like name call somebody like, oh, like you're just a stripper or something like that could be negative. But if you're saying, oh yeah, she's a stripper, that's what she does for a living, like you're just it's a statement of fact. It's not trying to be rude or mean.
Yeah, and I think in a like a club, just from a business point of view, it's kind of the more professional thing to refer to them as dancers, because then it's also like a very clear difference, because some girls don't go on the stage, but they're still strippers. They still walk the floor. So maybe that's just like their general professional term for it. Yeah.
Huh. It's always an interesting way to look at it. So you're a bikini barista, you do OnlyFans. We'll get into the OnlyFans in a minute. But how does like your friends and family and your kind of relationship handle being in the sex worker industry?
Honestly, by the time I got into the sex work industry, my circle has been very small for a long time, and all of my friends I have kept in my life because they're supportive people, and they know that I'm a little bit wild. They really expected nothing less. No one was really surprised. My family doesn't know that I strip, although they're probably figuring it out, but they've been pretty supportive, and they knew that I took the job in the strip club because that was the best money opportunity I could get at the time, as well as Bikini Barista. They know that, and I haven't been claimed as a dependent. I'm 20, about to be 21 in 2 days. But I've been claimed as dependent since before I was out of high school. So thank you. So they know that, like, if I want to support myself and I want to live in Seattle, like, I need to do what's best for me money-wise. And I try not to be so open about the stripping part because I feel like that's just even barely what I do anyways, and they don't really need to know about that. But my friends are really supportive with it, and they want to try it too.
Very nice. And how about your relationship? Because you said you do have a girlfriend. And
yeah.
How does she handle the stripping to the OnlyFans Bikini Barista? Like, what is she comfortable with? Like, where does she start getting a little iffy?
Honestly, it's been a really big journey with us in this because I was already dating her for about 8-9 months when I started in a strip club. So, and I think that changed a lot of things because going into it, I needed to be attentive to her needs because it wasn't like she started dating me when I was doing sex work. So there wasn't already like a set expectation there, but it did bother her and it ended up being a problem. And then I had to kind of go back and reevaluate and realize, like, okay, money, my relationship, money is important, but working in a strip club is not more important than my relationship. So I toned it down. Didn't start stripping for a long time. When I did, we had a lot of boundaries, and we still do. And there's so many strippers with serious relationships that are married or whatever. It's really all just about boundaries and respecting them. And that's why, one of the reasons why I ended up leaving the strip club, because it just wasn't a good situation for us. And Bikini Barista is a lot less interactive with people. It's not like you're dancing on people. You're not touching customers. And they're also there for a reason other than just seeing you. You have to give them coffee. It's just transactional, very literal transactional thing. A little bit better for our boundaries, and also something that I enjoyed more.
Right on. So I mean, a lot of people think that like strippers, bikini baristas, people that do OnlyFans, they're like some doing drugs or getting drunk all the time and just out just having like orgies and threesomes and their sex craze. But you can be in the sex industry and have a solid relationship and have boundaries, and you're just a normal person. You just might have a little less clothes on for the 8 hours you're at work.
Exactly. Exactly. And my OnlyFans, everybody's OnlyFans is different, and it's something I love about it because OnlyFans wasn't even created to be sex work. It was created for YouTubers that got demonetized and needed to still make money off their videos, but couldn't put it on YouTube because they weren't going to make money. So it's like girls take it, and some girls make like $5,000 a month off of posting topless cooking videos. Some girls post nudes, some girls post porn. And it's all really cool because they're all making hella money. For me, I don't post anything like that because I am really worried about being online pimped out. People will take your content and they'll resell it, and there's really not much anyone can do about it. And I'm not about to have that happen, but I also don't want to be posting that kind of stuff because it's just not for me or for my relationship. So I post stuff that like you'd see in the strip club, like me on the pole, me dancing, and I make pretty good money off of that.
Right on. And what do you charge per 30-day subscription for that?
I run specials on mine for the last, I think, 2 weeks. I've had it as $10 a month only, which is like pretty good because usually it's $25, but I brought it down.
I was checking out prices because I know a handful of people that do OnlyFans, so I was kind of comparing prices, and I was surprised to see anywhere. I do have a friend that just started, and she's at $3 for 30 days, like $3. And then I went to go check someone else's out because they started doing OnlyFans because obviously they're a dancer and the club's closed right now due to this whole COVID shit. Coronavirus. She's charging $35 a month.
Yeah.
I've seen some of her videos. I don't know what she's posting. I kind of thought it was a little high compared to what I've seen, but hey, if she's making money, more power to her. But it does seem that the average is about 15 to 20, somewhere in there is what I'm seeing, which isn't bad. So you do the you said pole dancing on OnlyFans. What made you eventually want to get into that? Because the last time we spoke, you were like completely against posting anything on social media, online, or things like that other than your Bikini Barista photos. So I mean, even if you're posting stuff that you would see in the strip club, obviously you're not getting naked for OnlyFans, but you are getting naked in the strip club. But still, I'm just kind of curious, like where your mindset went, because you were adamant that you were against it about 2 months ago. So I'm very curious.
Yeah, it was more so I just didn't want to be online pimped out. And then I was like, wait, I can still make money without like posting the extra stuff. Or also another thing that girls do, which is why I think that sometimes their subscription prices are so low, because you can have like a base content of that stuff that you're going to post just on your OnlyFans that anybody can see that subscribes. And it can be like some pictures, some videos, and it doesn't have to be nude. And then that way you are getting more people who are subscribing, and then individually you can sell them content that's more in depth or custom content, stuff like that, which is more so what I'm doing, because I realized that I'm not gonna be able to go back to the strip club with the whole COVID thing, and all of my stripping trips got canceled. My birthday trip and work trip to Las Vegas got canceled. And I was like, well, I could just make a virtual VIP lounge, virtual strip club, and have everybody come to that. And then it's like them going to the strip club in their living room. And that's kind of the goal that I went for with my OnlyFans, which I've seen other girls approach it the same way as well. And then some girls approach it as like a cam girl thing. Yeah.
How long have you been on OnlyFans? Like a month or so, or?
Not very long. I'd say like 2 weeks, maybe.
Okay. That's yeah. So you're just getting started in the OnlyFans journey.
Yes.
So obviously sex work can have negative people have negative looks towards it. And obviously there's a lot of legal shit that goes with it too. Have you ever had any trouble with the law, in essence?
No, but for me, I mean, I've never been in a position where I could get in trouble with the law because I'm not doing any illegal things. But it's really unfortunate that they police it so much, because it seems like, especially in Washington State, they act like strippers are being like human trafficked. And that is not the case at all. I mean, don't get me wrong. People got pimps. And I've seen people go through clubs and they obviously don't want to be there. But most of the time, their pimps are people that they think are their significant others, and they're just being played and they're being used and they don't even realize it. But they want to be at the club. And sometimes they're the ones that are being pressured to do things that they're not supposed to. And that's when you run into stings and stuff, which I have seen go down. And same with Bikini Baristas. They're getting in trouble for that a lot lately.
I think it was here in Washington, up in the Everett area. There was Hillbilly Coffee. They had to change their name. I think they changed owners. I'm not quite sure. I saw a little bit of it, but I believe they got busted for prostitution out of one of those stands.
They did, and I think that was a long time ago.
I think it was only like a couple years ago.
Oh, really?
I think it was less than 2 years, maybe 3. Because I wasn't really paying attention to them or really noticed them until I started having my son, which was about 3 years ago, and that's why I started seeing. I think I saw the name change. So at least you haven't had any legal problems. So hopefully that'll stay like that. You never get wrapped up in anything. Just association.
That is something that some of us have been worrying about, though. There are stings going on currently with Bikini Barista stands. It's getting pretty ugly, and there's a lot of lawsuits. So I'm not really sure how much I can talk about it, but I do know that people are going to go down. A lot of people are going to go down, and it's getting pretty bad. But I mean, I just left my stand that I was at, and before I had already left Ladybug. I do want to go back. I just want to find a bikini stand in general, but I would love to go back to Ladybug. But it does seem like a worrisome thing just in the Bikini Barista community in general, because of all of this shit going down, and it's pretty bad.
How is the whole coronavirus affecting your guys' work?
It was pretty shitty. It made things pretty slow, and I've never done extra things. My stands were pretty strict about it. Some girls get away with things, and that's cool. Like I wish I could do that, but I can't. And my sales went down. A lot of girls' sales went down, and it was really rough. And I ended up leaving. It really fucked things up. So hopefully, I find a new stand, because I really hope that these stands don't close too.
I don't think the stands are going to close. It's a pretty big industry here in Washington. It's amazing how many people you see come from out of state that have never seen Bikini Baristas. Say what?
I had someone come down from Canada to see me. I had someone come down from Portland to see me. I was like, damn, you guys are really like into this, huh?
I'm surprised they don't have them in Portland, considering Portland's the strip club capital of the U.S.
They do. They have a few. They have a few Ladybugs. They have like 2 or 3 other company ones. But I don't know about where else in Oregon. I've only seen them in Portland, but I could be wrong.
And
there's not very many.
I think they should be everywhere. Fuck it.
I think they should be too. We're essential.
Right?
We are.
So I'm very curious, because you do have a lot of guys. I heard a story the other day from one of the girls that is a Bikini Barista about how this dude will pull up to the stand and literally talk to her pussy while she's making coffee, like having like a one-way conversation. So I'm very curious, like, have you had trouble with creepy customers and stalkers?
A little bit, actually. It's one of the reasons I needed to leave my other stand. He even like went as far as to like comment something really like untrue and weird underneath my workplace's Instagram picture of me. It's very strange. But yeah, sometimes that happens. I have this one guy that has followed me since I was at Ladybug in Everett. He's a fucking piece of shit. But it's hard to deal with them sometimes, because one, you want to have your sales, so you want to sell them a coffee, but it's annoying to deal with them, especially because so many of the creeps and so many of the really shitty people are the ones that don't tip anything or tip very little and are really, really rude and derogatory to you. So you can refuse service, but then you risk them getting angry and doing something out of character. If you pepper spray them, they're kind of stuck there. You do have to call the police, and that's a lot to deal with. Probably shouldn't pull a gun on someone unless you're really about it. So it's a little difficult to deal with them, yeah.
That's another thing. Last time we talked about, you're not 21 yet, but you're going to be. Are you going to be you still going to plan on being packing?
Absolutely.
Right on. So you haven't, so outside of that one guy, you haven't had any problems, but we did talk about any more issues with guys coming to the stands and just fucking rubbing it out right there in their car.
Oh yeah, that happens. You know, people are weird. That happens. But if they do that, like, I threaten them, and, you know, like, either you can pay up or I can call the police and you can explain that shit to your wife, you know?
That very true. I was actually talking to someone the other day. They said someone pulled up to their stand and had no pants on. Just straight up, just no
yeah.
pants.
Ugh. Yeah, that happens too.
Like, they didn't even take the, like, they literally just, that's preparation. Like, I'm going to get in my car, take my pants off, and then drive up to the stand.
Yeah, that's too much. That's too much.
That's some planning ahead right there. Where, in your opinion, kind of like, where would you like to see, like, maybe bikini baristas or strippers or OnlyFans? Where would you kind of like to see it go, like, from where it's at right now? Like, any improvements you think it can make, or laws that could change, anything like that?
I think there can be a lot of improvements. One, I think, which is a huge problem for all of us, no matter what area of sex work you're in, is especially Instagram, social media platforms, demonetizing you, taking you down, purposefully targeting you because you have OnlyFans links or OnlyFans in your bios to your pictures. If you spell out OnlyFans, they can like flag you and stuff. And that's really hard. They need to decriminalize sex work. That's really the biggest issue. Because also, like, in certain stands, you know, you're going to get busted if an undercover cop pulls up and you're wearing an outfit that is see-through. You're gonna get busted. You do a show, you could get busted.
There's a lot of that too. There's a lot of outfits like that. I see it probably a couple times on a daily basis of like,
yeah,
like I'll see a picture and it's not like it's a bad picture or I have any negative thoughts towards it. It's just like, wow, I'm surprised Instagram's keeping that picture up.
Yeah, and it can be hard, especially when you start to grow a lot of followers in a short amount of time, and Instagram kind of takes notice of your account. And it's just the whole point of decriminalizing sex work, because it really shouldn't be an issue. The only reason sex work exists is because there's such a high demand for it.
That makes sense. So you were saying that, like, people are getting taken down. I hadn't heard of this, taken down because they have their OnlyFans link on their account. Is that why I've noticed a lot of people have their link tree link on there?
Yep.
That's something I just learned about this week. I was like, what the fuck is Linktree? And I clicked on it, and then it was literally just a platform to link all their other platforms in one.
Yeah, but might need to do that.
Pretty cool. And then through that, I kind of learned about this other platform called Friendly, spelled with a PH. Have you heard about this?
Mm-mm.
I guess it's another, I don't want to say subscription based, but essentially it kind of seems like it's for guys that have a hard time getting attention from girls, and you can literally pay the girl to kind of give you the attention that they're not getting on other dating sites.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I didn't look into it a whole lot. As soon as I kind of read a few things, I was like, I never heard about it. So I was like, what is this? And then I was like, oh, this is not something for me, but I thought it was kind of interesting. Figure for guys who don't have maybe the greatest self-confidence or know how to like talk to girls or anything like that, it might help. Seemed pretty interesting. Seems like another way for, I don't know, necessarily sex workers, but another way for women to get some income, another job stream.
Yeah.
So with doing everything, the bikini barista, the occasionally stripping, the OnlyFans, what's the end goal? Is this the do it forever kind of thing? Is it to just save up money to pay for school? Is it just until you find a good career?
Yeah, it's a stepping stone, and I think it is for a lot of girls. Although if this is something that you want to continue for a long time, do your thing. If I can continue to do some of this in some way for a long time, that'd be great, because it's always extra income. It's always something. It's not always easy, but it's consistent. At this point, I could move anywhere and I could work anywhere, because I can get a job in a club anywhere. I can go to a bikini barista stand or a normal barista stand anywhere. And that's always nice. It's one of the reasons I stayed in this, because it's that consistency. And it's just really a stepping stone. I want to be able to pay for college. I want to be able to go to 4-year and not be in such extreme student debt. I'm paying it off forever. I want something that gives me more of an opportunity into a career, or at least a business that I own. And this is definitely one of the ways I can do that. And it's just a really good stepping stone for me.
Right on. And so you want to go to college? What would you like to go to college for?
I do want to go. I always planned on doing child psychology. I've been having a lot of second thoughts about it in the last year or so because I haven't taken the step to go to college because I haven't decided what I want to do yet. I don't want to waste money doing that. But after I get my associates, which is what I need to do first, is go to community college, get my associates, then move to getting my bachelor's. And I would love to do something with social work or child psychology, but also I want to own my own business and I want to have that as passive income. And I might focus on doing that first before I focus on getting a degree in a career elsewhere. Yeah. But
if you could pick one business that is your, as you call it, passive income, what business would it be if you could pick anyone?
It would honestly probably be bikini stands, and I wanted that for about 2 years. So before I even started bikini, I've wanted that. And I would love to own my own strip club. I'd love to have kind of like
it's so expensive, at least especially here in Washington. It's so expensive to start a club.
One in Washington. Yeah, no. We want liquor.
That's very true.
Definitely liquor in my club. I would love to have kind of like a fusion. I would love to have a strip club that also has a dispensary, can also like serve liquor, so obviously not in Washington State. I would love to do something like that. Don't know if licensing is going to be a bitch for it. Probably will be. But that would be really cool. Also, bikini stands, though, like strip clubs and that industry is kind of falling a little bit. And bikini stands are just, they're coffee stands. They're always going to be popping, you know?
So I was talking to someone the other day. We were talking. We're like, man, we should start our own stand. I was like, dude, I've always wanted to, but I've always wanted to do a like Bikini Barista stand outside of the military bases, but have it serve Black Rifle coffee and then take a chunk of the proceeds, because Black Rifle coffee supports veterans, and then take part of the proceeds and also support veterans. I thought that'd be kind of cool. Something that's like military, got a military vibe to it. Just because there doesn't seem to
I'll work there.
We thought it was a dope thing, especially if you put those type of bases or those type of bikini stands. Like, I mean, military guys love Bikini Barista stands. So I was like, like Fort Lewis, they've got like a main back gate and like a main front gate. Like if you put one like a couple blocks off of each of those,
it will be popping forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it'll be insane. As long as but you got to make sure it stays clean, because as soon as something dirty happens, the base will blacklist it.
Yes. Yeah.
And you do not want to get blacklisted by the base. That's going to take out like all your customers.
Yep.
Okay, so going back to kind of like creepy customers a little bit. What's the proper etiquette when coming up to like a bikini stand? Like some guys feel like creepy if they're staring. Some guys like won't even make eye contact. Some guys don't know how much to tip. And so I'm kind of curious to your opinion on it.
Honestly, just be nice and be respectful and talk to us like people, and that'll get you very far. Just don't assume that we are going to do anything extra just because we're in small outfits. We're in small outfits, so you can admire us. But I mean, do you really need to see more? You can go to a strip club, maybe not right now, but you can subscribe to a girls only fans if you want to see that. You know, there's other ways to do that besides risking her job and trying to pressure her to do more that really is not necessary. You know, we are serving coffee, not pussy. And as far as tipping, like, I think base tip should be at least $5. I mean, the higher the tip, the more fun you'll have, the more flirty she'll be, the more fun it'll all be, and she'll probably be a lot nicer to you. I mean, that's just coming off of what I've seen from other girls. But just being nice and respectful and tipping well, because you shouldn't be tipping us the same amount you tip a normal barista. We are not wearing clothes.
So there is that, and we kind of talked on that. And I'm probably going to say this again, for anyone that wants to like hear a really in-depth conversation, especially about this topic, we went on about this for a while. Go over to Real Ass People's Entertainment Podcast. I think you're episode 11, Viviana Mommy. So, but I want to touch on a little bit here. The pricing is so insanely high at Bikini Barista stands. Why do you think it's so high? Like, why do you think the owners set the price that high?
Well, one, I've seen some bikini stands that are really low. So I get a little confused about it too. Because some are really high, some are totally like normal pricing. And I think the difference is that, so if it's a high pricing, it's probably because it's by cup size. So when they're like, okay, this is a bikini stand, we can already add on $1 or $2 more because this is an experience. And if anyone's watching this that goes to bikini stands but isn't a bikini barista, like, we don't see any of the money that comes from the base price of the drink. That none of that goes to us. That's all the company. But they're able to do that because they know that this is something special. So increasing their profits, they could be like, well, instead of charging like $5 for a Red Bull spritzer, because that's the price of the Red Bull plus like the syrup and the cup and stuff, like, why don't we just make any drink that's 24 ounces $10? And so a Red Bull spritzer is going to fit in there. You could get a quad shot latte in there, or like anything that you want, and it's going to be the same price. And more so than not, the company is going to profit off of it no matter what's in that drink. Just because it's so much higher than like trying to price stuff individually. So it makes it easier for them. It makes the money more consistent and the sales more consistent and less complicated. And it's just a good way to boost the business profits. Although sometimes it can damper our tips, because when you're already paying $10 for the coffee and then like $10 for a tip, that's $20 every time you go to a coffee stand.
Exactly.
And at Starbucks, it'd be like 7 or 8. And so I totally get that. So then some stand owners decide to price things pretty normal. And then they're like, okay, well, price of the coffee plus tip should always be about $10. So the girl's always going to see a tip. And sometimes those girls get even way bigger tips because the coffee price is so low. It all depends though. And that's something that I want to like learn more about, because I really do want to own my own business. I want it to be successful. And I would love to have a bikini chain, and not up here in the Northwest. Probably I want to be somewhere sunny, but I would love to have something as big as Ladybug. Not twisted, but
that would be awesome. And that's kind of where I was going to go is I feel like as a coffee stand owner, because the price of coffee has some of the highest markups of any product that you can buy. Buying a cup of coffee is a 2,000% markup from what they pay for the coffee. So I kind of feel like if they're going to raise the prices up, then they should be paying a little bit more per hour for the girls. That way the girls aren't so, because if they're going to get their profits, and don't get me wrong, I completely understand as a business owner, you want to get the biggest profits possible. But like you said, it is kind of a little bit different because it's not a normal coffee stand. So if you raise the prices a little bit, let the girls see a little bit of that. You know, maybe if they're making $11 an hour and your prices are so high, maybe make, you know, the minimum wage within your coffee stand $12 an hour. Like, I would say probably be a little bit higher than what the minimum wage is in that area.
Yeah.
Or a little bit higher than what the base wage is for a barista in that area, just because you are charging so much more. And then if you don't want to charge more, maybe put a nice big sign on your menu right outside the window that says, please tip generously. Just to remind them, like, hey, you're getting a show with your coffee. You should probably tip a little higher.
Yeah. And that's definitely, it's just the two opposites. Either like make it a high price for whatever you want in there, or price it very individually so the girl sees more of the money. Either way, I definitely do think we should be getting paid more hourly, because most of us get paid $13.50 an hour. But I think we should be getting paid at least $15 an hour. That's what I was getting paid at the strip club, to just be a waitress all night.
Well, yeah, but minimum wage in Seattle is $15 an hour, but you were being a barista outside of the Seattle city limits, though.
Yes, and so it's a little bit different for everyone, but I think generally most everybody, even North Seattle, like Everett, that area, all the way down to like Tacoma, they usually paid like $13.50 an hour. And like I worked at one club, the first club I worked at, technically they're supposed to pay us $15 an hour, but they somehow got around the law. That being said, they're run by the Italian mob, so they get around a lot of laws, but they're only paying us like $11.50 an hour because we get so much tips or whatever. That's just bullshit.
Where was this?
Oh, Kittens.
Kittens is run by the mob? I knew Fox's was back in the day.
I didn't say that.
I didn't say that. You don't work there anymore.
Me because I fainted.
They what?
They fired me because I fainted and someone called the paramedics because I could not walk and I could not talk. And I was very scared because I'd never fainted before. And I also was sober. So I was like, did someone fucking drug me? No, I just had vasovagal and low blood sugar. That was a great way to find out. But yeah, they don't like anybody coming in there because they get rated so much because that club is, you know, known to be a brothel.
No, yeah, that Kittens definitely has the reputation of being super dirty.
Yes, but they are able to do that because, you know, that's a money laundering place. It's not really a legitimate business as like the Deja Vu clubs.
I did, what was it, year and a half ago, I tried going and getting a door guy job just because I wanted something to do on the weekends again.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go work under the same management that I had at Fox's just because there was some I don't want to say bad blood, there was just some
Bullshit.
some iffy blood, like this is the way I always looked at it, is don't fuck with my money, I'm not going to fuck with your money. And my money was getting fucked with and I didn't take it very nicely.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to go back and be like, oh hey, kind of burn that bridge.
Yeah, I feel that.
Okay, well that's about all I have for you. Oh, I one more question. If so, for you're more familiar with Ladybug, what's one thing within that stand that you would like to see change that you think would make it a better experience for the baristas outside of like a pay raise?
Honestly, it's the sales quotas and the verbal harassment. I did not deal with this to the extreme that I know that some girls have because I'm taking this from things that I've heard more so than I experienced because, like I said, my managers were actually outside of the main Ladybug realm. So our stand was managed a little bit differently. And I love my managers and I loved working there. But I know especially at stands that are just busier, they have such high sales quotas. And if you don't meet them, you need to, like, you not need to, you have to put in your tips to like meet them or else you're going to get fired. And they don't, you know, they don't really care if you have a bad day or it's really slow. Like once in a while they'll give you a break for it, but they're pretty adamant about like, you need to get this high by whatever means possible or else you're out, because they'll be so quick to tell you there's 1,000 other girls that are waiting to take your place. So if you want to stay here, you have to earn that. And by doing that, you have to do it by any means possible. Putting in your tip.
What do they expect you to do? Go out on the street corner in a G-string and a bra with a fucking sign waving it, be like, coffee over here? Like, what do they expect you to do?
Exactly.
Like your Instagram can only go so far, especially with certain hashtags or certain links on your account. They're, you know, shadow banning you.
Yeah, and it's difficult, and that's why, you know, there are things going on, and I don't actually know as much about it as some people might because I have been out of the Ladybug loop for a while. Because it's not just Ladybug too. There's other stands that are even more crooked and even worse that should be taken down, and they are going to be taken down because that owner is just an awful person and forces girls to do things. I wouldn't say Ladybug does that necessarily. Then again, I wouldn't know, I guess. But yeah, they're pretty demanding of like your sales expectations, and they can be pretty mean when you don't meet them.
That's to me that's ridiculous, and it's completely uncalled for. Well, hopefully things will get better being a bikini barista, because I don't think there should be sales quotas. I think it should be your coffee stand. You get what you get at the end of the day. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have good days. It's a 2,000% markup on coffee. Well, actually, it's higher than that. The normal coffee stand is 2,000% markup. Your guys' coffee stand is probably like a 3,000+ markup on that shit. It's insane. I know every time I get coffee, it's $10 before tip, and that's just nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's about it, because we definitely covered a lot more in the last podcast, so I feel like it's just kind of redundant to go over a lot of things. So if people want to get more in-depth on things that me and you have covered, they can go check out the other one, which is still the #1 episode on Real Ass People's Entertainment. But before we get out of here, I want to say thank you for being on here, and I want to say thank you to OnlyFans Barista's Instagram page, who is sponsoring this podcast, and we're partnering with them. And before we get out of here, where can people find you?
You can find me on my Instagram at Viviana Mommy and Mami, or you can find me on OnlyFans at Viviana Prada. And
I was saying it so wrong earlier. I was saying Parada for some reason.
Parada.
Yeah,
Viviana
Parada. Yeah, it was definitely throwing me off earlier. So just those two places for now?
Yes, I don't have a Twitter or anything, but I do have my Instagram. I have my OnlyFans. You can come see me and follow me.
And how much is your OnlyFans again?
My OnlyFans is only $10 for the month.
$10 for the month. Do you have a 3-month subscription?
I do.
What is that? Is it just $30?
That's a good question. I think it's 48. I would have to double check that. But
okay. It sounds good.
I only set the first month and then I had to set the 3 months after that. So
okay. Well, I do appreciate you coming on here, and hopefully we'll have you back later on down the road.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by OnlyFans Baristas on Instagram. At OnlyFans Baristas, we promote the hottest bikini baristas around the country and linking you with their OnlyFans.com account. Go follow at OnlyFans Baristas and start connecting with those sexy baristas today.